Here we are. Welcome to another exciting edition of Decibel Geek Friday Night Live. Oh, yeah. Where's the applause? I can hear it. I can hear it.
I don't have it ready right now.
Oh, okay. Well, I can imagine the people that are watching out there, they're cheering right now because Friday Night Live is back. It's been a long, long time. We've been pretty busy, but we're back for this one here tonight. Hit us up in the comments section. We're going to be paying attention to those as we rock and roll, and we head on down the line tonight, having some fun, talking about some classic rock, hard metal, hard rock, classic metal. We got it all covered for you here tonight. My name is Aaron Camaro, joined as always by my awesome friend and kick-ass co-host. You know him. It's Chris Sinzak.
So you got to point that way.
Oh, no, on mine it says...
You're pointing at your wall, so yeah.
It's never... whatever.
Oh man, a lot of people showed up for this so far, a good nice little handful of people, and I see our special guest is backstage, and I can see you now.
Oh,
just
really?
letting
Awesome.
You know.
We were 2 minutes late because we had a little technical difficulty, but don't you worry, we'll go 2 minutes later than we normally would.
All right. Well, we're gonna catch up real fast, get everybody acquainted, and I know several of this guy's friends are probably in the audience watching tonight because I saw a bunch of them were excited that he was coming on.
Right.
And one of our most anticipated guests, and it makes more sense to do it as a live stream just so people can interact with him because he's got stories for miles. So before we get to that, real quick, we just recorded the new Radio Sucks radio show. A bunch of great songs you're in store for next week. Also, if you haven't checked out the Dual Threat Guitarist Edition, check that out. That's the newest episode that's been released. A lot of, not controversy, but a lot of discussion back and forth over specifically my picks. But anyway,
controversy with a K.
Yeah, controversy with a K. Thank you, Paul.
You brought it.
You did bring it. And then a lot of people we didn't realize that we forgot to put on the list. But that's what's the fun about it is you get to tell us where we got it wrong. And but I'm still 100% proud of my list. I don't care who likes it.
He stands by it.
Right. But yeah, a lot of people checking out. Brent Millhouse checking out. Jimmy James Swartz. Good evening. Hey, JJ McElhenney. Right. Tell us where you're watching from. I don't always know where everybody's from. Obviously, Adam NC, I'm assuming you're from North Carolina, but everyone else, I'd like to know where you're tuning in from tonight. And
I posted out earlier this week that we were doing this, and I asked everybody, I said, hey, subscribe to the Decibel Geek channel. And a couple of days later, I got a notice that said a whole bunch of people did it. So thank you to everybody new that is signed up to subscribe to the Decibel Geek YouTube channel. And thank you to everybody that's been with us all along. And we're back. We're excited to do this tonight.
All right, so let's get David Cathy joining us from right here in Nashville.
Right.
Brent Millhouse in Melbourne. So so happy Saturday to you.
Yeah, right.
Abbeville, Louisiana. Troy, our favorite Sammy Hagar fan, Troy Maturin. Central New York, Jimmy James. Thank you guys for checking in. And without further ado, let's get him on here because everyone's wanting to watch him. There's Diamond Tim on the Decibel Geek.
Yeah, there he is.
I made it, fellas. I made it. Yeah.
Nice.
We figured this technology thing out, didn't we? All right.
Unbelievable. Well, I knew this would happen. This is
it always does.
Yeah. But it's always a last minute thing, and it always works itself out.
Right on. Cool.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming back on and hanging out with us, man. It's always a fun time.
Hell yeah. I loved it last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. And I had the pleasure of getting to hang out with Diamond right around the New Year when he was in town for the holidays, and got to see our now late friend Marshall Latimer one last time. We did, which without knowing it at the time, but
that was beautiful.
Speaking of somebody who can tell stories, Marshall definitely had a million of them.
Yeah, we sat there while he rattled on.
Yeah, he definitely had a lifetime of adventures packed into his life. But great to have you on again. Mighty K is here, Central New York, in the Adirondacks. All right, this is she is our 1% of female listeners, Tim.
Man, I used to have a better percentage than that back in the 80s.
Mm,
You did a lot better than we
you
did.
did. I bet you did.
But before we get into all the dirty details, we want to do a little thing that we always do when we catch up. And I mean, I could fill a ton of these things with as long as it's been since we've done a live stream, but we'll just do a few things here. We like to call it Rock and Roll Show and Tell, and it's just anything cool that you have as a collectible or something you picked up recently you want to show off, just like we did in 3rd grade, you know. So who wants to go first today?
I can go first. I got
Fine,
just a couple of little quick things, and it's just easy. So I'll go first. I love going to yard sales with my wife because you just never know what you're going to find in these places. And 9 times out of 10, it ain't nothing good. But every once in a while, you stumble across something pretty neat. So we went to this estate sale where you go inside the house and you walk around all the different rooms and check out all the different things. And on this shelf was just a couple of CDs. And so I walk over and I just kind of start looking through and they're like, oh, there's a couple here and there. You know, it's the last day, so everything's really cheap. And so I go, well, these are a couple I could trade in. And then I look a little closer and I see something that jumps out at me. And it is the LA Guns Hollywood Vampires. But there's 2 of them. I go, 2 of them sitting right next to each other. That's weird. So I pull out the first one and it's the Japanese edition of it. And I go, that's pretty cool. And then I pull out the other one, and it's the United States version. I said, go, what's the difference? So I open it up. You know, the Japanese CD looks like that. And then the U.S. one is the classic one we all know that looks like that. But what's awesome about this American edition is that it had something with it that I totally had forgotten about. The little 3D glasses that you could unfold this and it would have the picture of the band in a 3D effect. And it had the little glasses with it. And I was like, heck yeah, I'm grabbing both of those.
What'd you pay for that?
Or like 25 cents a piece.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I just wanted to share, I got this at Rockin' Pod, this for our wrestling fans. It's an awesome book. I've been reading on this. It's got some amazing stories in it. It's Hollywood, the original Glow Girl, our friend Jeannie. She is the significant other of Ryan Cook from the Ace Frehley Band and Hair of the Dog back in the day. Awesome people. She's an awesome lady. This is an awesome book. If you haven't picked it up yet, go ahead and get it. I got mine autographed at Rockin' Pod. So sweet and nice she is. And if you go to her website and look this up and get it, I bet you she'll autograph one for you too. So check it out. Hooray for Hollywood by Jeannie Bissone, the original Hollywood Glow Girl. Pretty awesome book.
You remember the Glow Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Tim?
Well, no.
No, it was on TV.
Yeah, it was on TV.
Well, I missed that.
Because Tim was hanging out with rock stars and strippers and shit. So.
Well, I missed that. I know a few of them. I mean, don't know them, but I know who you're talking about.
All right. So for mine, Great Escape in Murfreesboro has really upped their game. Either that or they just have cool people bringing in stuff to sell. So I went there last weekend thinking I was going to buy some vinyl. And I did end up buying some vinyl, but we're not going to do vinyl today. This is I hit like the mother load. They have a magazine rack, and usually it's just like Mel Bay tab books. It's never anything that great, or it's like a trouser press edition from '64 that's boring. But that somebody had sold them a bunch of Kerrang magazines from the '80s. Nice. I could have bought a lot more than this, but I just had to like pick which ones before I spent too much money. Right. But they were all like $4 a piece. So not bad.
Wow, that's a good score.
Like, I'll show off some of them here. Like there's one with Yngwie on the cover.
Nice.
Right there.
Oh, wow.
Here's one that would probably not go over well today with Molly Hatchet.
Hey, I love it. That's integrity cool. Right there.
Oh, also on the back, there you go. A full page ad for the Keel album, Right to Rock. Here is I had to get this just because it's Ozzy during his Shelley Winters phase.
Yeah,
I mean, look at that shit.
Man, Kerrang was always like the magazine here in the United States you'd hear about and go, man, Wish we had. I mean,
I have a ton of those old Kerangs in a box somewhere in the garage.
Oh, here, this is cool on the back. It's an ad for Def Leppard's upcoming appearance at Castle Donington.
Right.
That's cool.
And
I love looking at those old magazines like that.
Yeah, and the old ads. Yeah.
I thought this was an old Hustler, but it actually is a rock mag. That's Joey Tempest from Europe. I still beat off to it, but
Oh, jeez.
And then the last one, this was kind of on a serious note, and this will kind of dovetail into one of Tim's stories. But look at this; it's a Def Leppard cover, and I'll just read it to you because it's hard to see on here. It says, "Joe Elliott speaks out for the first time since drummer Rick Allen's car crash." So this was right after it happened.
Wow.
So. But I know I wanted to. Well, Tim, do you have anything you want to show off? Because I hit you on the spot with this whole idea. So I don't. If you don't have anything, it's cool.
I have too many things to show off.
I'm sure you do.
I can grab something here in the room to show off. Hey, I got something for you.
All right. Yeah. We'll see. I knew I could get him to grab something.
Not long ago, I found this downstairs and I dusted it off.
Yeah.
It's a David Lee Roth
Filthy
promo for A Little Ain't Enough.
Yeah.
And inside there is a cigar, condoms, Jack Daniels, matches, rolling papers, and all the essentials you would need in an atomic war.
Wow.
At least to forget about it.
That's pretty cool.
I like it.
Nice.
That's
I
all.
forgot all about it, so I was glad I found it. So, but yeah, you did hit me on the spot, didn't you? What else I got here? I got plenty of drugs all around me.
Yeah, I have plenty of the legal.
As I'm very old. Yeah. Got some Elmer's glue right here.
Wow.
Oh, you can have fun with that. Joey Ramone taught us that.
Yeah, and hey, I got a cool Wendy O. Williams statue right here. A little bobblehead.
Oh, that's badass.
Yeah. Oh, and here's a Clint Eastwood action figure that I actually made.
You made that?
Wow.
And remember, when things look bad and it looks like you're not going to make it, then you got to get mean. I mean, plumb dog mean. Because if you lose your way,
you can't even keep a straight.
Oh my God! Then you neither live nor win. That's just the way it is.
Too funny.
Now, was that a Ken doll before you got a hold of it?
I don't know. It was like a cowboy type doll I found at like a flea market or something. And I said, I can make something out of this. And there was nothing, no action figure of Clint Eastwood. And I said, I'm going to make this into the Josie Wales.
Yeah.
So, I got so many little things hanging around here, but most everything's still in boxes downstairs in my garage.
So all right. So we want to do this as good as we can. So you sent us a list of stuff that you wanted to touch on. I've also saved several photos that I want to just bring up the photo and you tell us the story. So which way do you want to go with this?
I don't care, man. I'm game for anything.
Right.
It's y'all's show. I'm just a pawn in your little game of chess.
A pawn. Wow. I feel so devious all this time. So diabolical. Yeah, we're going to take over the world 20 listeners at a time. All right. Let's go ahead and make everyone jealous first. Let's bring this up.
Nice.
Yeah, let's see. That was 1980. Oh God, 1 or 2, because I had that perm, and I you see the address on the back of the Kiss albums for a coin management and all. So I went up there hoping I'd see somebody or something, and I ran into Dennis Wallach, and him and I became instant friends. And I was with my girlfriend at the time, Sue, and then Dennis just showed us around the office and everything. I'm like, this is amazing. And then I said, this can't be. Is this the actual Love Gun painting? And I didn't have a camera. Dennis had a Polaroid just sitting there where those papers are. He goes, you want me to get a picture of you with it? I go, hell yeah.
Wow, yeah, nice.
So that was me with that, because I remember him taking us back into a room, and a dark room, and but was kind of scary because I knew Bill Coyne was around. And so
man. Rocket Pod Weekend has dragged on.
Back, God bless his soul.
Right.
God bless his soul. And we went back into this corner of one of the rooms, and there's the door for the elder.
Yeah.
I said, this is amazing. It wasn't even a full door. It was like a square, and it was falling apart. The little gold handle was hanging from wires, and I go, can I have it? Are y'all going to throw this away? Can I have it? Wouldn't that have been cool?
Yeah.
If I could have taken that, but he took a picture of me next to it. And, I hate that picture too, because I was so timid. I go, can I pretend to be like Paul putting his hand in front of the gold knocker, And he took that photo, but then I look back in hindsight, go, why didn't I pretend like I was ripping it off because it was hanging there by threads,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an awesome day. I saw those marionette things they had in the office, and I wish I'd have gotten pictures of that. This one, this is at One for the Sun in Nashville. And Peter Criss had just left KISS, of course. I got him a sheriff's department hat that he's wearing right there. And we had went fishing a week later. Peter Criss fishing for catfish.
How good of a fisherman was Peter Criss?
Yeah, he was good. There was Stan
Penridge.
I think that was his name.
Yeah, Stan Penridge.
And a few other people from the sheriff's department. And, my stepfather was the high sheriff. So in that sense, hey, it worked out good. We gave him some sort of award or something, some sort of gift from the sheriff's department on stage. I remember getting to a fight later that afternoon. Maybe too many Lowenbrows. And we had Rat's bus, and then Rat comes finally, and they go, I think we're supposed to be on this bus. And I go, all right then, but we're going to still come in and out of the bus when we want some milk and cookies. You remember the little code word we talked about?
Yes. The use of the phrase milk and cookies. Take it as you like.
Yeah. Cue Miami Vice music. So anyway, I love this picture of me and Pete. So, and that was exciting. I'm thinking to myself, this is surreal,
right.
This guy was on my wall, and now it's like putting my arm around Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Because his makeup's gone, his Superman mystique.
Well,
and he was just a man, but I tell you, Peter was a wonderful person, very nice to me, very giving, and I worry about that a lot of times when I meet people who I really love, because you go, man, if they're an ass, I mean, am I going to see them in the same light?
Right.
As I worship them, am I going to, so.
Yeah.
So.
That era where he was in Nashville is fascinating to us because there's not a lot out there on it. We interviewed a guy named Mike Hutchins, who was his guitar player in that band during that time.
Yeah.
And it was a good insight into it, but there's still not a lot known about that period. Just the vibe I got is it was similar to the whole Boogie Night situation with Dirk Diggler and Chess Rockwell in the studio, and they spend about 5 minutes on a song and they spend about 3 hours snorting cocaine. And I got the vibe that it was like that when they were here. Yeah, I mean milk when they were eating milk and cookies. Yeah. Excuse me.
I'm glad to have made it out of the 80s alive.
Right.
Oh, this is great.
Yes.
All right. So Doug Goldstein, who was Guns N' Roses manager and a dear, dear friend, we keep in touch to this day. He was working for David Lee Roth's crew on the Eat 'em and Smile tour, and that's where we first met. And we were like backstage in Nashville. It's like the second or third show. And so after that tour, I didn't see Doug anymore. Then I went to a Starwood show with Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses. So I'm going to get a beer, and I hear somebody go, "Diamond!" And I look, and it's Doug. And we're running to each other like it was in slow motion, like Love Story or, Bo Derek on the beach.
Oh,
and we gave each other a
Bo
big hug. And he goes, "Man, I want you to come back and meet Axl." He goes, "I think you guys will get along great." And he's in a bad mood. So I went back there, and Axl and I hit it off, but he was messing around with, I don't know if it was like the mayor's daughter to take a lyric from a DLR song. But I said, I knew the person who he was messing with. And I said, "Dude, she's underage." So you better watch out.
No.
So anyway, I told them all I'd get them sheriff's department hats and stuff. And we made a date to see them in a couple of weeks later in Dallas, Texas at Cowboy Stadium, opening for INXS. The lineup was INXS, GNR, Ziggy Marley, and the Smithereens. How's that for an odd lineup?
Wild lineup.
Yeah.
And Axl was pissed at Michael Hutchinson. Is it Hutchins or Hutchins? Because they didn't give them a good sound check. So he's pissed about it. So after they finished off stage, he said, "Man, let's go to this party." And it was a small party where we met a couple of girls who lived in Fort Worth. So right here, I grabbed some beers out of the cooler, and we're going to the limousine, and somebody snapped this picture in the elevator. And then we end up going into the limo, going to these girls' house for some milk and cookies in Fort Worth. And it was a wild, wild night. I mean, a wild night. Because I'll just put it this way. There was a girl on the couch downstairs. He was up in the bedroom later on. I'm downstairs, and I'm laying on the floor naked. He comes down laughing at me. And the limo had left a long time ago. So we had to call a cab to come pick us up to take us back to the Four Seasons. And this guy with a thick accent from the Middle East, we're trying to tell him where we're staying. And I told him I couldn't remember. It was the Salad Dressing Inn. He got the salad dressing in. And I go, "Yeah, what the hell you call it? The salad dressing in." And Axl and them are laughing in the back. And finally we make it to the hotel, and that was pretty much the end of the thing. But yeah, it's funny when you show these pictures, they pop up these crazy memories I haven't thought of in years.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and y'all know Peter Arquette?
Yeah.
Well, him and I used to be really, really close friends, and I don't know what's happened over the years to where I haven't even heard from him anymore. But he, I guess, appreciated me enough at the time. He was running a KISS convention in Orlando, Florida in the early 90s, and said he needed somebody to interview Ace Frehley. I go, what flight do I need to be on? When and what flight? And so I flew to Orlando, and interviewed Ace, and it's on video.
Yeah, I
There's
watched
some
it.
funny scenes because I start doing, would you care to tell our audience what you were doing at 4:00 this morning? You know,
It's a good Tom Snyder.
right. And I was just making him laugh, and it's kind of hard to make Ace laugh when you're a nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He might laugh if I was Johnny Carson, but we got along pretty good, and I love him, and he's great. And I remember asking him something like, "What guitarists of today's people do you like? Ones that," he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Ones that match up to your standards." And he goes, "Standards? What are you talking about, standards?" See, that was my way of saying, but we all think you're the greatest, Ace. So you kind of put me in a spot, and I go, "Well, Jesus Christ, man." And so I was given cards to read from audience questions.
Yeah.
Basically. And
how good were the audience questions?
Right. And so I would ask him questions, and sometimes I'd go off and embellish, but I can't remember exactly what was happening here. But it might have been that. What would you tell our audience what you doing at 4:00 this morning?
I've learned over the years, people that have been around him, like the way to get to his heart is to quote the Tom Snyder interview. Like he views that as like his achievement, So yeah. When I saw him in Atlanta at a convention around that time, and he first thing he said when he got on the microphone, he was like, "I thought I was at a plumber's convention." So like he referenced it immediately. Oh man.
Yeah.
So let's go to another one. What's going on with this? What's the story here?
That was at for the love of God, what was the name of that place in California? It's where Kiss of the Weenie Roast,
Irvine
the Weenie Roast from that radio station there.
Yeah, the K-Rock Weenie Roast at Irvine Meadows.
And it was their warm-up show for the big tour.
Yeah.
For Kiss's big tour. 96?
Yeah, 96.
And we were there at the very first one where the top caught fire and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I had my camera there in my hand, and I was there with some dear friends of mine, Derek and Kyrie, and I got my Jim Morrison Alien shirt on there, and my cool Ian Asbury cult hat. got some blonde chick over here checking me out. I was like, "Hey, I see you there."
That must have been wild though, seeing all the technical fuck ups during that show.
Yeah,
you must have really felt for them, because like even during the first, or when they went in, the Bombs for Love Gun went off like at the end of the first song. I think it was really early.
When you're there and you're just a huge Kiss nut, you don't care.
No, you're just
everything is just great. The curtains of fire. I love it. Yeah.
It's unique.
So it was great. Yeah, they had these big old inflatable giant things of
I remember them. Yeah.
Remember those?
Oh yeah.
They were bending over and falling on the crowd.
Oh shit.
I heard they had a lot of trouble.
That's why they didn't use them that much anymore after that, but at least, and I got some photos of that. This was in Atlanta, Georgia. I have a picture of me and Michael Anthony too that I lost years ago. I don't even know where it's at, taken that same day. And that was in Atlanta at 96 Rock. That's right. In 1981, they were about to do a radio interview, and I had to mimic Dave doing the back cover of Women and Children First. But I noticed on the side here, Alex seems to wear the same shirt all the time.
It's his favorite shirt.
But after that, Alex and I became pretty good friends, so I'd see him on different tours and we'd jump in my car and, like here in Nashville, for instance, a couple years after this, we went to Hickory Hollow Mall together. And then we had to get back for the show at Municipal that night. And God damn it, I had a dead battery in the parking lot. A dead battery.
With
How
Alex Van
embarrassing.
Halen.
Right, yeah.
So Alex Van Halen's in the parking lot flagging people down to come, give us a jump start here. I'm Alex fucking Van Halen.
Wow.
And so we got to the Municipal in time, and I remember the next night we all went to go see E.T. at the old Lion's Head Cinema.
That's where I
And
used to go
it's
see
funny
movies.
because Dave meant everything to me. He was my idol, as you can see from how I am.
Yeah.
And we all drove in that dead battery car. It was Niels Lozauer and Alex, Dave, Ed Anderson, Dave's bodyguard, and we went to Lion's Head. And I thought, hey, everything's working out pretty good. And we get into the movie theater, and I want to sit next to Dave. Well, he don't want nobody sitting next to him on either side of him.
Yeah.
He gets in the movie theaters to watch E.T., and he keeps both seats on each side clear in case some hot chick is walking down the aisle. He can say, hey, I got a chair for you, baby, right here.
Wow.
So I didn't feel so bad about that anyway. And
I love that David Lee Roth just never broke character ever.
No.
When he was out in public.
He
He
is
was
what
David
he
Lee
is.
Roth every day.
But he'd get quiet when he wasn't. A lot of times he'd get really introverted and quiet. And then, boy, when anybody's around him, like media and whatnot, boy, it's like a switch turns on and he becomes this larger than life character, And
Alex looks like he's about to guest star on Miami Vice and play a drunk kingpin.
yeah, and that Miami Vice hadn't even really came out yet. That'd be a couple more years. Maybe Alex was the trendsetter for that.
Yeah.
It looks like Tony Montana.
Yeah.
Let's go to this one here. What's going on here?
Yes. This was after Ozzy and Metallica at Nashville, 1986. Cliff Burton is the fourth person right there behind the girl with the yellow, who I cannot remember her name, and I hope she's not here, otherwise she'll kill me. And these are a bunch of our close friends just hanging out at the Hyatt Regency in Nashville and having a party. And I'm going to be honest with you, at the time, I didn't know who Cliff was. I thought he was just some dude at the party. Later on, I go, that's Cliff fucking Burton.
Wow.
So.
Well,
yeah,
they were, I mean, for most of the public, they were still relatively unknown at that time. So, I mean, it's, like I've told this on the show before. This kind of tripped me out because, we both grew up in Nashville, but you're older than I am. But my first memory ever of Metallica was a WSMV Channel 4 clip that they showed at the end of the 10 o'clock news of, now as we wrap up the news, here's a clip from the opening band at the Ozzy Osbourne concert tonight, a band called Metallica. And it was a clip of Cliff Burton playing his bass.
No way.
From that
I don't
show.
remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember
That's
that.
My earliest memory of Metallica is that clip.
But I do want to shout out to Robert Leith, who's the first guy on the left there. We were pretty good friends back in the 80s. And Paul Jones, the second guy with the sunglasses, looks like a member of Duran. He's in a band that I actually do honorary road manager work for, called Southern Accents. They're a wonderful, wonderful Tom Petty.
Oh, that's Ronnie Gregg's band.
Heard of that?
Yeah, Ronnie.
I know, I've known Ronnie for a long time.
Yeah, well, hey, Paul's the bass player extraordinaire.
Right on.
Yeah, so
That's a trip. That is a cool photo.
And there's Lori Sue. Okay.
That's all right. Didn't mean to jump off of
No,
it.
if she's watching, she knows she's there. I didn't mean to forget her. This, that's my infamous Daisy Dukes, boys. Enjoy, gather it in. And I want you to breathe. Yeah, because I have the legs for it, you see.
No, Tim, you did have the legs for it.
Wow.
If you notice that little wear on Kevin Dubrow right there, it's about the size of a button. Yeah, this was a week after the US Festival, 1,500 miles away in at the Hermitage Landing at One for the Sun. Got my Cleon Yomea t-shirt from KDF. Remember, Cleon was a character Carl P. Mayfield had.
I remember Carl, but that's before my time.
Yeah, and then, of course, Kevin Dubrow, the late Kevin Dubrow, wonderful guy, and Rudy Sarzo, who's playing with an imitation Quiet Riot now. But Rudy's wonderful. I loved him back then. And that's their Winnebago behind us that they toured the country with on that first mental health tour.
Wow.
That's where they lived.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was excited to meet them because, they were just one of the most popular metal bands on the radio at that time. And I'm like, just hanging out,
Well, how was the Kevin Dubrow?
He was wonderful.
He was
wonderful. I'd see him over the years, It was amazing how over the years he'd get more hair.
Yeah.
I thought this was a freak of nature.
Hey,
It's
defied
beautiful.
the laws of physics.
That's right. And but yeah, he's great. And when I lived here I live here in Vegas now, and Kevin, I'd see him at a casino or something, just walking around, going to a restaurant or a club. Hey, Kev. So that would happen quite a bit. That's what the last time I saw Jack Russell. We ran into each other at a casino and talked for a while. So it's awesome. And Kevin's buried here too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and he lived in Vegas. I forgot about that.
This, of course, is Stephen Piercy of Rat. And my buddy Dr. Mark lived in Houston, Texas, and I'd go fly to Houston a lot to see him. He was kind of like the doctor to the stars, giving everybody B12 shots. That was his big thing. And I remember we were driving in my van one day, and I said, well, you ain't going to get a B12 shot in me because I hate needles. And I'm driving, and I feel like a poke.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I said, you son of a bitch. And I go, but I didn't even hardly feel that. That was great. But anyway, we were backstage at Houston, in Houston. And who were they? Who was opening? I can't remember who was opening. But yeah, Steven's a great guy. And I haven't seen, I've had the opportunity to go to a few shows, but Steven's not sounding like he used to sound. A lot of times, if I see these bands at their zenith,
right,
I don't want, okay, that's it. Why would I
too.
want to go and see a half-assed version of Rat? You know what I mean?
right, yeah.
Robin's gone.
Hurt the memory.
I mean, none of the original members except for Warren DeMartini, right?
Well, yeah, it's Steven and Warren right now.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby's not even playing with them.
No. Yeah.
But he's just not sounding the same either.
No.
It's like Dokken was playing a free concert here a few months ago, and I've seen some stuff on YouTube.
No, I wouldn't go see Dokken now.
Don, you're not sounding like you used to, brother.
Yeah.
And I love him.
I don't
Dokken.
begrudge him making a living. I saw them so long ago. I don't need to see them now.
Well, y'all seen Frankie Valli lately? Now that's when you need to call it an end.
I can't believe Frankie Valli's even alive.
It's like they've wheeled his corpse on stage and got a string on his jaw.
Is Sharon Osbourne managing him? Sorry, I had to make that. I'm an asshole. All right, let's go. This one got my attention. What's the story with this?
Oh, this one got us in a lot of trouble. Me and Rick got kicked out of Graceland.
This is at Graceland.
Yeah, this is back at Graceland. That's Elvis's Jeep that he drove in the movie Blue Hawaii. He loved it so much he had it brought to Graceland, and he'd use it to go down to the gate and get his mail.
Wow.
Anyway, they used to have all his cars parked in the back, and we got in there, and the damn keys were in it. We started it up, and we all drove around Graceland, and they go, you see security going, you know.
And in the photo is Rick Allen from Def Leppard. Who's the other guy?
That's Jeff Keith, the Tesla.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm trying to teach him, hey, this is the steering wheel. And you got your accelerator.
This is the steering wheel.
Big old stick right here. But let me tell you, since then they've put this car behind glass.
Yeah.
After you got done with it, of course they did.
I'm a Tim and Def Leppard boys and Tesla come over here thinking they own the goddamn place.
That's awesome.
and I tell you, after we finished this though, we went over to where what used to be his racquetball court that's filled all with the gold and platinum albums. And so I'm telling everybody, man, so Elvis walked this path when he wanted to go play racquetball. And I said, hey man, who wants to play me some racquetball? Come on, I'm gonna kick your ass. And the tour guide, everybody's laughing, I'm doing my Elvis, and I'm walking towards the racquetball court, acting like I'm gonna kick somebody's ass in a game of racquetball, and but being total Elvis. And there's this old lady sitting in the back right there in the shade next to the back of the house at Graceland. And the tour guide goes, you might want to cool it with that. And I go, what do you mean? And she goes, that's Elvis's aunt sitting over there. And I go, oh, shit. She don't like people making fun of the king. I said, I'm not making fun of him. I'm appreciating the king. Anybody who knows me knows that, So wow. I got a video of me and Rick walking back to the to my van out in the parking lot after we got kicked out, and him and I are doing a Spinal Tap parody. Well, since my baby left me, I found a new place to dwell. Well, since my baby left me, sounds fucking barbershop, doesn't it?
So you're as excited for the new movie as we probably are then. Yeah. That's coming out later this year.
Oh, I've got my tickets.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go see the old one redone.
Oh, that's like next week, I think, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I haven't been to a movie in 20 years.
Wow.
I think the last movie I saw was, I don't know, The Green Mile.
I'll tell you now, you're going to spend a little more on
Arizona.
Right, yeah.
And I haven't been to a movie since, but I'm going to that. Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, popcorn's not $3 anymore.
Yeah, I heard. We're going to go eat before we go, Yeah. I might have to sneak a coffee in my belt like Kramer does. And then sue the theater, or no, sue the coffee people for making it too hot.
Oh God! Oh,
you put a bomb on it? Don't put a bomb on it.
I've got a Seinfeld picture of you in here too.
Oh, that's Randall Tex Cobb from Raising Arizona.
Yes,
and great boxer. He worked for Willie Nelson back in '96, and I went to 1,000 Oaks to go see Willie. My friend Kyrie, in the picture you saw at the a couple pictures back at the Kiss show, where I've got the Jim Morrison Alien shirt on. Mm-hmm. She does the tour itineraries for Willie Nelson now, but Willie, my stepfather being the sheriff, when he was trying to court my mom, he had Willie Nelson call her up and serenade her on her answering machine.
Wow.
Yeah. I said, Mom, where's that tape? She goes, I don't know. Don't know what the tape is. Well, she has a German accent with a little Southern in it, like V-Gate, y'all. But, but hi, Mom, if you're watching. Anyway, no, this was Thousand Oaks, and I was sporting my Drew Bledsoe jersey way before the Patriots became the dynasty they did. So it shows you my true loyalty. I think it's autographed there by Willie on that one. And Randall was working for Willie, I guess, security or something.
I have it's a very distant connection to Randall Tex Cobb, but it was like a year before this photo was taken. I was playing in a band that I was in when I was in high school, and we got our first gig at 328 Performance Hall, which is gone now. Yeah. And we were opening for, you might even, you were long gone from Nashville by this time, but it was an alternative kind of Cure-like band called the Grinning Plowmen. I
remember that.
So the guy, Michael, from that band, who was the singer, and then his wife was the bass player. And they were running the whole show. Well, anyway, I found out like 6 months to a year after that, probably around the time this photo was taken, that she had ran off and left him for Randall Tex Cobb. And it turned into a whole drama.
No way.
Yeah. There was like threats of violence and all kinds of shit.
Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
I was like, the bounty hunter from Raising Arizona? Really? I was like, okay.
Yeah, we were ringside for one of his fights at the Municipal Auditorium.
Well, I mean, the guy did box Muhammad Ali, so give him some credit, you know.
Yeah, and he won that fight.
And he beat him.
The night we saw him too. So yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, you know, who's going to pose for a photo like this? You know, fantastic.
No, that's cool.
All right, let me see what else I've got in here. Well, I found here's a scandalous photo of an affair that it looks like you had with a certain partner. I don't know what happened. What's the story here?
When I lived in LA, I hung out a lot at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and I was there all the time. As you can see, I'm wearing my away Patriot jersey, my Drew Bledsoe away jersey. It's brand new. Looked really good on that October because this was around Halloween, and we had just gotten back from the Ozfest '96 in San Bernardino, and he needed a ride, and I gave him a ride.
Wow!
Because we were backstage, and Ron Jeremy. We gave him a ride back from San Bernardino, and we said, hey, let's all go to the Rainbow. So we went to the Rainbow, and when that picture was taken, I'm kind of like insinuating that his member is not as big as you might think.
There's plenty of evidence to prove you wrong.
And things, well, you remember that little camera, that little mirror on the car where it says objects may appear smaller than they really are.
So they say the camera adds a few pounds.
Right.
Or a few inches.
Right. A few milk and cookies.
Hey, now you brought up milk and cookies, not me.
But it was funny. He didn't even know I was doing that, you know.
That's hilarious.
But boy, that was a great place to hang out.
Yeah,
every night was just a great night. Everything was different.
Didn't get to go there in the heyday, but both of us have been able to go at different times. And
you have been there now?
Yeah,
I haven't been there in a long time. This was back in the mid '90s that I used to practically live there. If I didn't have anything to do, I'd go there.
I got to go to the upstairs room.
Yes,
it was fun.
Yes, you know, Joey Buttafuoco used to guard that upstairs door.
Oh, wow. For real?
Oh yeah, I got a picture of me and him too.
Are you doing this in the background of his photo?
No, he's doing this.
That would have been good.
Or do this.
Yeah.
And
Joe?
now we're banned from YouTube.
You ever have any interactions with Lemmy while you're hanging out at the Rainbow?
Oh yeah, he was there all the time, but you respected him.
Okay.
I never was one to go up. Hey, Lemmy, can I get a photo of you and me?
Right.
It had to happen. All these photos they had to come naturally.
Right.
I just cannot do the. I was telling Chris about the perfect example of what I'm talking about. I was working for George Thorogood in '96 around this time, and he was doing a show at the House of Blues on Sunset Strip. He had a rehearsal that afternoon. Now, dig this. Behind the stage back there, me, George Thorogood, Waddy Wattell. Do you know who Waddy is?
Yeah.
Great session musician, Stevie Nicks' guitar player,
Yeah.
and Keith Richards. And we're in a little powwow. We got a little powwow going, and we're all talking shop as equals. And in my back pocket, I have my trusty little Pocket Instamatic 110. Do you think I'm going to whip it out and go, hey, come on, boys, I want to get a photo of us?
Right. Yeah.
That would
No, I can dig that.
ruin everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then my importantness would go down a bunch of octaves, and they'll probably kind of weed me out of the little powwow.
Yeah. Who the
So
hell is
I'm
this guy?
thinking, there's no way I'm going to ruin this moment. And I'm sitting there, though, in the back of my mind thinking, I hope there's somebody over there with a drink or something, and they've got a camera and are taking a picture of us, from far away.
Right.
And that maybe they'll say, hey, I got a photo of y'all, but that never came to be. But that is a perfect example of that situation, going back to Lemmy. You'd see him over there at the end of the bar playing video games, bar games at the end of the bar.
Ooh.
And, you said, hey, and then you went about your business.
Right.
As a fellow rock and roller, but you don't want to mess with the man. He wants to relax and have a good time too.
Right. Right. You don't want to fanboy out in front of nobody.
No, not exactly. But do I wish I had a photo of me and a lamb?
Oh, yeah,
Hell
of course.
Yeah.
So Jack Broad has a question for you, Tim. He's wondering
Okay.
if you have any stories about guys who were complete assholes and how you dealt with them.
Well, yeah, a couple.
Yeah, because you kind of
What's
mentioned it.
the lead singer of Queensryche?
Jeff Tate.
Oh,
Yeah, ass.
Yeah.
They opened for Def Leppard in the Round, and we were at the Ritz-Carlton bar. That Rick and I left our rooms and go down to the bar to see what's going on. Jeff Tate's sitting at the bar, and we go over there, and just ask him, "Hey, how you doing?" And he turned around and looked at me and Rick, who they're opening for. Like, hey, leave me alone. I'm trying to enjoy myself here, that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Rick and I just looked at each other like, damn. We had the same situation with Joey Tempest when you showed that photo earlier
from Europe
magazine.
Really?
We were at the what's the name of that place? McGavick's, that big hotel near the airport, McGavick's. Or is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Probably not anymore.
Anyway, all the rooms faced into a giant courtyard. And Joey Tempest was out on his balcony, and me and Rick are over at my room. And we're yelling across the thing, trying to be funny. And he gets up all prissy and slams his door and goes in. I'm like, my God. So those are the two that come to mind automatically. I'm sure there's other ones.
Yeah.
But like I said before, if I'm meeting somebody who I loved, growing up and adored, I'd be hesitant to even want to meet them because, do you want that to spoil, their music and everything? Because it's gonna get on that. Right. You're gonna hear their music and it's gonna be tainted.
Yeah.
You know, but luckily, my heroes haven't taint. They didn't taint. Yeah, that guy. Somebody wrote something about him being standoffish. He's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, he's right. That's kind of like what it was. Looking back, I can say he was an asshole at the
He
time.
seemed, I don't know, and I liked Queensryche a lot back though in those days. But even when I would see interviews with them, they'd pop up on Headbangers Ball once in a while to promote something. They always kind of came off snobby, like they thought they were like the sophisticates of metal, And I was like, you guys seem like assholes.
You're right, and a lot of these people do, and you're like, well, I don't know if I want to meet. Or a lot of times you get it from people who aren't that big and think they are that big.
Yeah.
Now I worked on Seinfeld for 2 years, which I just fell into. I was working on a TV show called Sparks. What was that network? UPN.
Mm-hmm.
And they were filming it at Raleigh Studios across from Paramount. And that's another story I'll tell you about, because that's where I met Walter Matthau.
Oh, wow.
But after that was over, you've got to find other gigs. Anybody who worked in Hollywood on these things know, once you work on a movie or a TV show or something, you got to look down the line and go, okay, where's my next gig going to be? Where am I going to, especially if you're a production assistant like me here. And my job here was to take care of like magnets on the refrigerator and the VCRs and stuff, just the stuff, the cereal boxes, in there. A lot of that was real food and edibles. A lot of it was the crew food. They'd stick their own food in the refrigerator, and then get it on breaks, because that was a working refrigerator. Wow. And so I worked on this show on the last, not the last season, but the season before. The Summer of George was my last one. And they filmed it out of sequence. I think they filmed the Summer of George before Muffin Tops. And so Muffin Tops was actually my last one, which is one of my favorite episodes, by the way. And but I didn't realize what I was into here. I mean, I wasn't really into Seinfeld that much yet. It took the reruns to me appreciate and go, holy shit, I worked on this show. Which I'm kind of glad, because that way I maintained an air of professionalism about it.
Right.
Because I would take, Newman, Mickey to the Vaughn's store. I'd drive Jerry's car home and not thinking twice about it. Have lunch with Michael Richards, in the break room. I remember sitting it with Kirk Cameron, me, and Michael Richards, because Kurt's girlfriend worked on the show, or she something. I don't know what the situation was, but one of the coolest things is one time coming into the audience, who I helped seat, was Jeff and Lloyd Bridges, and Jeff was the dude. He was the dude.
It was you've talked to me about
it at the time.
Yeah, he was. He looked in character for it
because
he was filming it.
It was the dude.
Yeah,
because we talked for a while, and because Lloyd, their father, was Mandelbaum, right?
Yeah, Mandelbaum.
Yeah. And so they were there to support their father, because, he didn't really have that many acting roles at that time. But one of the forbidden things is taking photos, on the set or anything like that. It just wasn't allowed. You don't see photos of willy-nilly of people on a Seinfeld set or something. This was what I thought was one of my last days working anyway. So I said, the hell with it, I'll take a photo of me at least breaking through the door. Hey, and I'm so glad I did.
Yeah. Well, it's the biggest comedy in television history. It's legendary.
Oh yeah. It was and I watch, I'm an expert on Seinfeld now. I know every line from everything. My wife and I, half the time, we're talking in Seinfeld vernacular.
Yeah.
And we don't even realize it.
I do that here, but it only goes one way, and the other side is just rolling her eyes. But she's over Seinfeld. But
yeah,
man,
that was great. And I didn't realize they were going to have a last season. Everybody was talking on set that would be the last season, and I had to go on and get some work in the future.
Right.
And so I came back to Nashville and started working for like Crew One and Crew Masters, which eventually led to me working at Starwood Amphitheater, and then Pace Concerts. And so that was a whole nother ball game, especially with Pace. Then I got on the Kiss Psycho Circus tour and worked in the Southeast. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm working on the Psycho. You think as a kid, boy, wouldn't that be great one day to work for Kiss?
Right. What did you do for Kiss on the Psycho Circus tour?
Production assistant.
Did you get to know like the merch people and stuff on that tour?
Not on that tour.
The reason I ask is because there was somebody back when I was running a local music website. I interviewed a guy who was at the time he was still just a musician here in Nashville, but he had a history where he was the guy who kind of ran the merch people on the Psycho Circus tour. There's a guy named Paul Sidoti. And at the time I interviewed him, he kind of wasn't really anybody. I just wanted to interview him to ask about Kiss stuff.
Sure.
Well, now he's Taylor Swift's guitar player.
Oh, wow.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, see, and it probably, he might have not got that gig had he not been doing merch, because everything, you fall into it. Yeah. And that's what happened to me. I mean, I wish I could have made a giant success of one of them. It's like that old saying, what is that? What is it? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm like, somebody called me the Forrest Gump of rock and roll.
I think you and Rick Fox are in a dead heat with each other as far as being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
Yeah. It's crazy how you'll pop up and where all these important things are happening. It's just, it is. But a lot of it, like you talked to me on the phone about it, there's a lot of work that went into some of this stuff. You had to hustle to get into those circles back then.
Oh yeah, you had to. And, if you didn't, people aren't going to take you seriously. And, you got to show that, hey, you're the man for the job, whatnot,
Right.
And then, to be a friend or a likable person to where they will hang out with you, or, you don't want to be an ass yourself. You don't want to be a Jeff Tate.
Or as I like to call him, Geoff Tate.
I'm sure he's a wonderful fellow.
Oh man. Well, and we went through a lot of photos right there, over an hour, but I'm betting we haven't even really scratched the surface. And we've had so much great, this is like the best, interaction we've probably ever had, at least since Rock and Ron was around on our live stream. So I think another guest appearance in the future has got to be on the table, right?
A part two. We'll discuss the things that we missed, because we could actually do a part 3.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's, what, that was a good idea you had, because I had no idea what you were going to do. You just called and asked, and I said, yeah, count me in. You got it, fellas. And, but then when you did the thing where you showed a picture, it's so cool, because things just kind of unlock and then things flood out. I'm sure later on I'll go, oh man, I forgot to tell them about this little part on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I'm sure Aaron's cool. I'd love to have you back as a regular for this.
Oh yeah, for sure. God, if I was 20, 30 years younger, I would probably be doing this, because it is my, area. Yeah. I would love to have done this, but then, I look back and go, thank God this wasn't around in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Thank sweet God.
Yeah. You would have got away with nothing.
You know, I'd be in jail.
Still,
I'd be on the front page of the Tennessean.
Instead of handing
Son gets
Right.
instead of handing Paul Stanley the key to the
cookies.
Yeah, we have a lot more milk and cookie stories.
And it's
to come.
funny how trusting these people were to the sheriff's son. I could have been undercover. Gotcha, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, now I'm imagining a Diamond 10 80s buddy cop TV show.
Oh yeah. I'd watch it.
like a cheap version of Hunter. Remember Hunter?
The Sod Squad.
Yeah, we definitely have to keep doing this. We'll do this again in the future. But I want to thank everyone who watched. Aaron, got anything?
No, man, this has been great. Diamond, you've got such great story. And and I've said this because somebody said, oh, you should give him his own episode. Diamond Tim has been on Decibel Geek before, so go back in the archives and look up that episode.
It was all about Kiss.
Yeah, he told us all kinds of awesome Kiss stories, and everybody fell in love with him that day. And man, just the story about going to the Kiss offices and just showing up. Let's see what happens.
I didn't know, and I drove from Nashville to up there. It was hit or miss.
Right. And then to get, but again, it's the same old story. In order to have an adventure like that, you've got to put yourself in the situation to be able to possibly be able to do something like that. And with Tim, it all worked out, but it started with him having the balls to try, and that's, I think, a lesson in life. I always hear about the guys that like in the 80s that moved from some small town in Wisconsin or Pennsylvania and said, hey, let's go to Los Angeles. If we're going to do this, we have to do it there. And that takes balls, to pick up and move everything you got to Los Angeles. Don't know anybody, on the belief that your band could make it. And I love these stories so much because they're inspirational to say there's a lot of cool things you can do in your life, but you've got to put yourself in the situation to make it a possibility to happen. And I love talking to Diamond because it's a reminder of that. And I think that's so important for everybody to remember. You got to put yourself in the situations to get the things, the adventure.
You're absolutely right. I mean, Kevin Costner said it best in Tin Cup: define the moment, or the moment defines you. That worked into the sequence there.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Well, it's been good to. Sorry.
Next time, I want to talk some about Glenn Campbell and how he should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I really believe that.
Man
played on practically every song from the 60s guitar.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
And Glenn was a real close friend of mine. And we met because my affiliation with Jerry Reed when I went fishing with him as a kid. See, that's another thing we could talk about. And then I got to meet Glenn, and Glenn and I became good friends over the years. And I even told him when all this stuff started on Facebook, I said, listen, I'm going to start a Facebook group called Glenn Campbell Should Be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he laughed. He said, go ahead. Because you got my blessings. And I have, we've got like 5,000 members. So I'm telling you, if y'all are not aware of the greatness of Glenn frickin' Campbell, then join this Facebook group, because you'd be surprised to find out all the hits that Glenn's guitar on. All these rock and roll hits. And, songs like Rhinestone Cowboy and Southern Nights and Wichita Lineman and all those aren't really country. They're like mainstream pop rock, kind of John Denver type, James Taylor-ish, that
singer-songwriter.
Ronstadt, that's what that was like. Yeah. So, and here they're putting, I love Dolly, but they're putting Dolly in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, there's not a rock and roll bone in her. until after she was nominated.
Yeah, right. True.
You know,
Next thing
get
you
a
know,
disco bit with Baby I'm Burning, but that was, you know, that's not going to get you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But, you know, it just, so it's bugged me. And I, it's not the fact for him to get in there. I just want him to be recognized, you know?
Yeah, for real.
So I just thought I'd throw that in there, fellas. Got my Wrecking Crew hat on.
Right on. That's an amazing story. Great documentary on them too. If you haven't seen
yeah,
it.
you got to watch that to understand what he was involved in.
And Carol Kay, she's
she's
a badass.
Just recently, she was inducted and she turned it down.
Yeah,
good for her.
She turned it down for reasons kind of what I'm talking about, where there were a group of people here, and you're pulling in. And you haven't pulled in Glenn Campbell? Are you out of your mind? He's the most famous of the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, because he actually went on to be hugely successful in his own right. You know?
Yeah. But I thought I'd throw that in there as a extra appetizer.
All right. Well, we don't get to do this. we don't get to do this every Friday. It's hard to get them lined up for every week, but we definitely. Aaron, you want to do this again in the near future?
Yeah, 100%. This was a blast, man, and I love to see all the people commenting. And it makes me feel good that we got so many friends out there that want to take the time to set aside a little time on a Friday night to hang out with us knuckleheads. And that means a lot to me, and I thank everybody that's done it.
Well, this turned out to be a blast. Because I didn't know what to expect. You guys kind of threw me to the lions. And I said, the hell with it. You know?
We'll take care of you.
Nah, we always have a good time when we do this. And thank everybody for tuning in and being so interactive. It's been great to talk to all of you. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.